When we're kids, they teach us to color inside the lines, to stay neat, to be careful, to not mess it up. But no one tells you that sometimes the most beautiful parts of life happen when you slip. When the color bleeds, when you stop worrying about perfection, and you start leaning into the imperfections of self. And I feel like only then can you truly begin to live and learn. My dad used to say, be the head, never the tail. I never really understood what that meant until I realized he wasn't talking about pride. He was talking about courage. The kind of courage it takes to lead yourself, to take risks without asking for permission, to choose expression over approval. Because the truth is, being neat is safe, but being expressive is free. Lines are everywhere. Rules, expectations, routines, all drawn neatly for us before we even get the chance to hold a pencil. Go to school, get good grades, get a good job, buy a house, get married, follow the path and don't make a mess. And for a while, you believe it. You convince yourself that staying inside the lines will make life easier, cleaner. But over time, neatness starts to feel like a cage. And you realize the lines were never there to protect you. They were there to contain you. Because once you color outside the lines, once you make that first stroke that doesn't belong, you start to see what freedom actually looks like. The first time I messed up, really messed up, I remember feeling like the world had ended. All those invisible eyes watching, waiting for me to fail. But I'll tell you what, nothing happened. No one exploded. No one disappeared. It was just me. And this weird, quiet realization that failure isn't fatal. It's feedback. When you stop trying to be perfect, you make room for honesty. And honesty, that's where growth begins. We treat life like a coloring book. We're given a picture, told what goes where, and we're graded on how well we can stay inside the pattern. But human beings were never meant to be templates. We're meant to spill, to smudge, to create new shapes, to draw over the outlines and call it art. Maybe that's what living really is. Not getting it, right? But being brave enough to try your own version of it. Because sometimes the messiest strokes end up being the ones that tell the truth. It's strange how much life is spent asking for permission to be ourselves, to dream differently, to say what we actually mean. We wait for someone else to validate our brushstrokes, as if the world needs to sign off on our existence. But the day you stop waiting for that approval, is the day you start becoming who you are. You start realizing that people don't have to understand your vision for it to even be valid. They don't have to like your colors. They just have to see them. And honestly, if they don't, that's okay. It's your canvas, and it always has been. My dad's words echo more now than they honestly ever did. Be the head, never the tail. When I was younger, I thought that he meant to be the best, to lead the pack. But now I understand he meant just don't follow blindly. Don't let someone else hold the brush. Don't let the fear of being different turn you into a copy. Being the head means taking accountability, not for others, but for yourself. It's not arrogance, it's ownership. Ownership of who you are and the story you're still drawing. There's a quote I quite like a lot by the late Steve Jobs, which reads, "Most of the rules we follow were made by people no smarter than you. Don't let them trap you. Take your own path, make your own mistakes, and create your own life." The hardest part about coloring outside the lines is how people look at you when you do. They tilt their heads, squint a little, like they're trying to figure out what you're supposed to be. But difference has always been misunderstood before it's celebrated. Every artist, every thinker, every person who dared to break the pattern, they were all questioned at first. So, if they're questioning you, maybe that's a sign you're doing exactly what you should be. I've learned that freedom doesn't come from being fearless. It comes from being willing to show up, to try, to keep moving the brush even when you don't know what the final picture is even gonna look like. You won't always like what you make, but sometimes the act of creating is the lesson. The movement itself is the meaning. And when you step back, you realize the picture was never meant to be perfect. It was meant to be yours. Maybe life isn't about coloring inside the lines or outside them. Maybe it's about realizing there were never any lines to begin with. We just drew them to feel safe. But growth lives in the mess. Love lives in the mistakes. And truth lives in the strokes that make no sense until later. So yeah, I'm done trying to be neat. I'm done asking for permission to exist. Because the color outside the lines, that's where I found myself. And if you're listening to this right now, maybe it's time you picked up your brush too. Because being neat is safe, but being expressive, being you, well, that's freedom.